Thank you, Sky. That was beautiful. And amazing that it was about love. All right, what I'm going to do now is such a blessing and such a pleasure to announce and bring up our guest speaker for the day, who is none other than Reverend Christine Greene. And Reverend Greene finds her inspiration in empowering others to grow beyond their limitations and discover their inner strength and courage. She is an author, facilitator, speaker, and minister. And she has a background in business, education, and has a master's in religious studies. So as an ordained CSL minister, Reverend Christine has served as assistant minister in CSL and is currently on the interim ministry team and one of the facilitators of the new minister co-creation process here at CSL Prescott. What I know is that we are so lucky to have her here. So let's welcome Reverend Christine, and I'm going to turn the service over to her.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for that warm welcome. It's just a joy to be here with you and to see all of you here today. It takes, Sandy said, it takes a village, and it takes a village to put on a Sunday service. So I really acknowledge everyone who has something to do with putting Sunday on. There's people you see in front of you and people behind the scenes. And I thank you and acknowledge all of you. You have such a beautiful center, physically, from the building and the people that I've gotten to know this weekend. And it's just a joy to be here with you. It was such a pleasure to facilitate the new minister co-creation process. I'll explain. This sounds like a kind of an awesome thing, like, what is that? I'll explain what that was, what we did this weekend, and why we did it. But it was a joy to watch your community come together to do such an auspicious task. I want to acknowledge the Prescott community, the ministers, practitioners, the board, and the co-creation committee for your effort, your dedication, and your willingness to be part of this. We started, as it was already mentioned, we started on Thursday night, and we've had a team of people that were supporting us all along the way. And I'm so grateful to Aaron and Clay for their amazing technology. You are so blessed to have such amazing beings that can run technology. It is not a small task. It is huge. So thank you for that. And then you have a wonderful, amazing group of practitioners. And I want to thank these practitioners especially for their support. Sandy Kimmerly, Grace McManus, Hazel Bowman, Rev. Kath DePalma, Sabrina Johnson, and John Haas for supporting us with prayer during our whole time together. Many thanks to Tom Kimmerly for his detailed organization and our many phone calls and emails to bring this into fruition. And every one of you contributed with your intention and your prayers and your energy, and we're so grateful for that. So my intention today is to share with you about the process and the experience and reflect on where are we now and where do we go from here. So Thursday, the congregants came together to participate in the first part of this process. And that there were two main themes of that day: the power of group agreement and to have a new experience, to have a new realization. And so as we began to do the work of the co-creation process, we honor the understanding that we all carry a minister inside of us. So I invite you to feel that and take part in that. Take a revelation of that we all carry a minister inside of us. And that minister is formed very often out of our past experiences. And there are pluses and there are minuses. So we tend to outpicture the experience that we had before. And we know that's the principle we teach, right? Whatever we're believing, we see it in front of us. So we tend to outpicture that experience. So we see the minister out of our former beliefs. So we tend to project to a minister whatever those experiences were. And we tend to project that over and over again. So one of the processes that we did was an upgrade process. Have any of you upgraded your computer recently? Our minds need to be upgraded as well. Our beliefs need to be upgraded. So we did a new minister upgrade process. And what we did was we invited people to go within and to recall experiences that they had or associations that they had with ministers from the past. And then the upgrade allows us to bring it to an up-leveled idea, that not to stay in that past, but to bring it to a new idea. And it was a very important part of the healing process. And it established the foundation of the work that the co-creation team did over the next 2 days. And so I want to acknowledge the co-creation team members, not in any particular order. Aaron Smith, Diane Gazelle, Kathleen Gustafson, Andrea Sexton, Mel Hirsch, Sally Kasner, Sharon Tice, Barbara Butterfield, and Tom Kimmerly. If you're here today, would you please stand? And thank you so much for your time and dedication. So this group worked on your behalf. You may not have been there at that moment, but they worked on your behalf. They were invited because they represent different segments of the community, and they were committed to being present to do the work. And I was moved by their commitment and their willingness. And so what was revealed out of the work together was the sacred covenant. Now, this is not a wish list for a new minister. This is a list of spiritual attributes that are really about a spiritual vision. What's crucial for us to understand is that we have to embody and to realize inside of us the qualities that we want to experience in a new minister. We have to acknowledge that inside of us first. So that's what your group did, and they did deep healing work to bring about this sacred covenant. And the idea being that we attract what is like our thought. They worked very committedly on your behalf. And this is a powerful time for your community. It really is. It's a powerful time, and that you are opening your hearts and your minds to welcome in a new minister. And everyone has played a part to bring you to this individually and collectively. And so we're here to welcome newness. The sacred covenant is intended to create an experience within you to call that new person to you. And you received a copy. If you didn't receive one on the way in, you'll get one on the way out. But there's some space on that covenant for you to write some personal affirmations. And you're invited to do that for yourself, to write your own personal intentions, what you'd like to have. This is pure science of mind, right? That we have to have the mental equivalent inside of us in order to have what we want to attract. This whole process is a very mature experience. I think sometimes what we would like is we would like to place our order, right? We just want to call up God and place an order. I would like this minister, and this is what I would like him or her or they to be. And can you have them show up, and can you have them here by Sunday? Because we need them here by Sunday. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So what we're doing is we're working on a much deeper level, on a level to get to know what's inside of us and what we want to envision for the highest good for this community. So the covenant that we're about to read together, it declares how you see your experience of a new minister unfolding in time and space. In other words, it's how Spirit is going to move through each of you to bring this to you, to call into the space the new minister, someone who will love you and serve you and support you in your divine unfoldment of your spiritual journey. And so we're going to show that on the screen, and I invite you to all stand, and we're going to read this together. And this is done in the form of a prayer, so that as you're saying it, it's our prayer together. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to glorify God, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God as love. I further know that my new minister is a fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written, "Love is the bridge between you and everything." As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister before me as revealing truth as love, wholeness, and joy. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself, for I am fully grounded in principle, inspiring, loving expression of our best selves. I am nurturing and empowering our spiritual growth in consciousness, oneness, and wisdom. I am recognizing the humanity of a situation and wisely calling forth the truth. I am expanding personal consciousness through studies of diverse spiritual teaching. I am enriching our spiritual lives through music and arts. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will glorify God and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful. God is gracious. Amen. And so it is. Thank you. So what you've done is you've just spoken your new minister into being. That as you speak the word goes out to be made flesh. The word goes out to be demonstrated. You are formally in a time of change, except now it kind of kicks up a notch. So there's a little bit of a jump start here. And I have 3 invitations for you. The first is to come in agreement with each other around this covenant that you just read. Sacred means holy, and covenant means agreement. Allow yourself to align with the words that were spoken here. Let your heart say yes. There is a space on the covenant page for you to fill out your own personal intentions. Write them as an I am affirmation. It's done in that form so you can affirm what it is you want to experience. And again, this is not about ordering a minister to get them to do what you want them to do, okay? It doesn't work that way. But what it is, we're co-creating a new experience together. We're co-creating, and this is a very different process than what people experience. But in this co-creation, that we are claiming how I am stepping up as we read those statements together, and how I see the new minister coming, that each of us is stepping up into leadership. So you are invited to come into agreement and read this every day. Post it somewhere where you can see it. Say yes. As the group speaks together in group mind, things begin to happen. You know, when we're in a time for change, it's very easy in a community sometimes for people to pull in opposite directions. And what we've done in the covenant work is to bring people moving in one direction instead of opposite. We're moving in one direction, and hopefully that's forward. My second invitation is to honor the mystery of the process. You're not where you were, and you are not where you're going to be. It's not how it was, and it's not how it will be. My friend, Dr. Kathy Hearn, calls it being firmly planted in midair. And that's what it feels like sometimes, right? Firmly planted in midair. It's a little bit like a free float, but yet there's some firmness to it. You are standing in deep faith. You are in a process that will lead to this greater revelation of a new minister. And somewhere, there's a new minister that is getting an insight. You know what? This is the time. I think it's time for me to move. I think it's time for a new place. It's time for a new experience of ministry. So you're calling them together. This is a mysterious and mystical process because you're calling in this person, and all we can do is take the next step that we're on. So our human personality wants to see what's ahead, right? But we can only take the step we're on, and that's right now. And that the covenant is the guide for you to do that. So I invite you to embrace the words of a beloved teacher, Emma Curtis Hopkins. She says, "There is good for me, and I ought to have it." Have you heard that before? There is good for me, and I ought to have it. Let's change that. We're going to say, there is good for us, and we ought to have it. Can you say that with me? There is good for us, and we ought to have it. Let's say that again. There is good for us, and we ought to have it. One more time. There is good for us, and we ought to have it. And so it is. And so the third invitation is to embrace the change. And here's the things. We are very clever beings. We want change, but we don't want anything to be different. I noticed that about myself. I was really wanting something new to happen, but I didn't want anything to change. And so I was in this conflict. And that's what happens when we're in change. We want things to change, but don't change too much. But don't move this. Please don't move this, right? We tend to do that as human beings. So right now, what we can do is see ourselves that we're open to that change. We're open and willing. And that as this is happening, as this person is waking up and finding Prescott, Arizona, and coming over in this direction, we're open and welcoming. And so while I was doing this, I was inspired by these two stories about change. And one is the parable of the sower. It's from the Gospel of Matthew. The sower went out to sow seeds. And the farmer sowed the seeds. As he did, some fell by the wayside, and the birds devoured them. And some fell on stony ground, and the plants sprang up around them, and the sun scorched them. Some had no roots, and so they withered. And some seeds fell on good ground. And the plants grew, and the fruit increased 30, 60, 100-fold. This is a teaching about our minds. What kind of mind do we bring to change? The wayside mind is hard and resistant and impenetrable, and is stuck in the past and does not let anything take root. The stony soil is the mind that has a little bit of spiritual awareness, a little bit of soil, but no spiritual practice. Nothing to deepen the growth. The plants sprout up, but they wither. The thoughts are there, but they don't stay. The thorny ground has deep, right soil, but it's the kind of ground that can be filled with negativity and criticism, and it chokes off anything new. But then there is the good, rich, deep soil of the mind that is affirmative, that is open and receptive, that is willing for this to happen, that wills this, that opens, that brings this forward. We reach for our good, but sometimes we have these qualities that stop us. If we can be aware of what is the mind that we bring to change, it makes a difference. The other story is a Zen story from the East. And so the student goes to visit the Zen master, and the Zen master is preparing tea. And so as he's preparing the tea, boiling the water and getting the cups together, the student is talking and talking and still talking. And the Zen master is very quietly, patiently going about his work, and he's preparing, he brings all the cups out, and the tea is ready, and he begins to pour, and the student is still talking. And so the Zen master pours into the cup, and the cup begins to, it's filled, and now it's overflowing, and the tea is spilling everywhere. And the student jumps up and says, "Stop, what are you doing?" And the Zen master says, "How do you expect me to teach you anything when your mind is already full? How do we expect for newness when the mind is already full?" So it's time for us to empty the cup. It's time for us to be open and receptive. What I know is that this is a deep, loving, and caring community with a huge sense of compassion. You have a commitment to live a faith-based life. Your covenant is your roadmap to have that fertile soil of the mind and to yet be the empty cup to allow the newness to come. Your sacred covenant is your guidepost, is your vision that allows you to stay on the path. And so as you speak it individually and collectively, you are claiming it to come forward. So what will be happening is that in this process, your board is going to be working alongside of CSL Home Office to bring this new minister to you. There's some things that have to be done, and there's a search committee that will be established, and that all of this will come together. I am affirming and knowing it all comes together with ease and grace, and as it does, everything that needs to happen will happen, and that before you know it, your new minister will be here. And your work in the meantime is to be in that open, receptive place. Prepare your mind and your heart and do your consciousness work. Keep your eyes on the good that you have claimed. This is the outworking in consciousness. And so let us take this into prayer. And how grateful I am for this opportunity to be in community together, for this opportunity to be in the oneness, in the one mind, in the one heart, in the one openness, for that infinite presence of wisdom to guide and to facilitate, to direct this work. How grateful I am for this unified presence to allow the good that is God to come forward. We already know it's here. We are open and receptive for this goodness to shine, to come through. How grateful I am to know this for this community. How grateful I am to see this newness being revealed and to see the deepening in consciousness being established. How grateful we are to have each other in a time where the world can seem like it's confusing and chaotic, that we have this sacred place to come to, this sacred community to connect with. What a beautiful experience of time, of community, and of love. And so I give grateful thanks for all that has been given here, for all that is yet to be revealed. I know it comes forth with ease and grace, and that is there is a joyful unification of the new minister coming forward and this community standing in truth together. I give thanks for this with a grateful heart and release this word with deep gratitude. And together we affirm, and so it is. And now please stand and let this newness wash over all of us.